Hello everyone! I'm currently working on the second part of my video, Bill Withers, The Difference Between House and Home. However, I have received that many interesting comments from you that I decided to make a small reaction video. So here is my first
reactions to your comments.
Is this better? One of you took the time to record half an hour of commentary to my video. One of the things that my friend pointed out is that Heino has not been doing Volksmusik, but volkstümliche Musik. Fun fact, I remembered that he told me that 15 to 20 years ago. But there are two reasons why I didn't mention it in the video. The first reason is it wasn't really relevant for the video. What was relevant in the video was that I thought that my friend was about to play a song by Roger Whittaker, that I thought that Roger Whittaker makes Schlager music, and that I don't like Schlager music, and that's because I consider it to be superficial and acted, and that Heino, being a Schlager singer, basically confirmed that. Against that background, it wasn't really relevant for you that before he started doing Schlager music, he was doing something else. I only mentioned that Heino was doing something else before that because, well, that's how he started his career. He didn't start as a Schlager singer. So I just mentioned that he was doing Fahrtenlieder, you know, those songs that you play with the guitar around the fireplace while hiking, and that he was doing Volksmusik. The second reason why I just mentioned that before he started doing Schlager, he was making Volksmusik and Fahrtenlieder is that in English there isn't really a proper differentiation between Volksmusik and volkstümliche Musik. And that second thing, volkstümliche Musik, that's what my friend told me is what Heino does. Now that my friend made such an effort to remind me of that, I have to explain it, I think. So here's the difference. Volksmusik is just the German term for folk music. But it's a little difficult to define what folk music is. The consensus seems to be, however, that real folk music is, first of all, traditional music, and secondly, that it's rooted in a still living folklore. Meaning, it's not something done by commercial musicians which simply play traditional songs. And against that background, it's quite difficult to say if we have any real folk music in Europe anymore. In fact, if we have any real folklore. For instance, once in my lifetime, only once, I saw a evidently elderly woman which was still wearing the traditional dress from, I think it was Łużycki, like this one. But maybe it was just Mazowiecki. I'm not entirely sure. They are kind of similar with those very characteristic, colorful stripes next to each other, little, you know, rainbow-like. So that probably was authentic folklore, the only bit of authentic folklore that I have seen in Poland. Because most of the time, when you see people with those dresses, it's professional dancers, like, for instance, the dance ensemble Mazowsze. Or for instance, this choir/music ensemble. And as you can see, at least in their videos, they try not to just dress authentically, but also to shoot in locations like heritage parks. But both examples are cases of commercial singers. These are not just, you know, peasants that happen to sing their traditional songs and that happened to be filmed while doing it. And I significantly doubt that anywhere in Poland they still exist. Oh, okay, there may be still some. I may be wrong. I may be wrong, actually. I mean, for instance, especially in the mountains, the Górale, they may just authentically still just play their own music. But however, even their music has already been commercialized. So I really don't know. If it exists in small niches. And the same phenomena you have in Germany, probably even more. Are there still any peasants that just happen to sing their traditional songs and like one of them happens to play some instrument and somebody else plays another instrument and that's it? It's like real folklore. I don't think it exists really anywhere in Europe. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say in all of Europe because Europe is larger than most people think. All of the Ukraine, all of Belarus, and well, the entire European part of Russia, like, Moscow is still several hundred kilometers west of the Ural Mountains, so it's by geographical definition in Europe. So I can imagine that somewhere between the Ural Mountains in the east and the Atlantic Ocean in the west, whether in some valleys in Portugal or maybe somewhere in the north in the Sami regions of Finland or Norway, there may be authentic folklore still. But when it comes to Germany, I think it's a safe bet to say that there isn't any authentic folklore, which in turn would mean that Volksmusik, one could claim Volksmusik doesn't exist at all, except in recordings. However, there are people which say that they do Volksmusik. These people play traditional songs on traditional instruments in a traditional way. There are also attempts to develop this traditional Volksmusik further, but to keep it authentic. I read on Wikipedia that they call it Volksmusik, but with an X, and that they fuse in some jazz elements, for instance. Long story short, Volksmusik may or may not still be a living culture, but it definitely differs from volkstümliche Musik. Now you might say, okay, you spend a lot of time to explain what Volksmusik is, maybe, but you also said that that's the type of music that Heino isn't singing. So what is that other thing, that volkstümliche Musik? As I said, one of the reasons why I didn't even want to start explaining this is that there isn't even a proper English term for it. I was surprised to see that there is an article on the English Wikipedia about volkstümliche Musik, but guess what? The lemma is volkstümliche Musik, and only in the article an attempt is made to translate it as folksy music / traditional popular music, when I remember it correctly. But then again, it doesn't really matter because those are just attempts to explain it. Let me make another attempt. Volkstum is basically, that's the German word for folklore, I would say. And so it's folklore music. But the funny thing is, it's not really folklore, right? It's made by people which commercialize traditional songs. Moreover, they make their own songs, which aren't traditional songs, it's just new songs, which appeal to those which find folklore cute and attractive. Just as Schlager, volkstümliche Musik is one of the quite popular branches of German pop music. What volkstümliche Musik has in common with Schlager is that it's selling the image of a wholesome world. The difference being that volkstümliche Musik is probably even better at that, because it's rustic. Musicians present themselves in traditional costumes. Many of the instruments are traditional. You might have those giant horns from the Alps. But the songs, most of the time, are not the traditional folk songs. Oh, and obviously, the music itself. I mentioned that Volksmusik is played on traditional instruments in a traditional manner. Not so much with volkstümliche Musik. Here you will find keyboards or a beat coming from a drum machine. And the combination that comes out of it is people playing a keyboard while wearing traditional Bavarian leather trousers, standing next to something that's supposed to look like wood but is actually made out of artificial fiber. I'm talking about, well, maybe you have seen this song on the internet already. Another good example, I think, that I came across during my research is this song. That's not the type of electronic beat that medieval German peasants used to listen to. Summing things up, Volkstümliche Musik is probably an even more fascinating topic than Schlagermusik, because while being just as much an illusory world, this illusory world is even crazier. However, that was not and still isn't what I want to focus on in my Bill Withers video. Nonetheless, I wanted to at least briefly share it with you here.